Welcome, welcome. My name is Lorraine Copes, and I want to welcome you to this afternoon's session. I know you're all here to drink, but I just want to take a couple of minutes to tell you who we are, Be Inclusive Hospitality, and what we do. So I'm the founder of the business, and we are a social enterprise with a mission to level the playing field for underrepresented employees and founders within the hospitality industry. How we deliver our mission is through working with founders to build more inclusive spaces, along with supporting employees within the industry with mentorships, scholarships, and events. And if you'd like to learn a bit more about what we do, our stand is just over there, just behind this tasting session. But I'm not going to talk for much longer. Instead, I'm going to hand over to the very reason that you're here today, which is to taste phenomenal products from some phenomenal founders. And I want to lead by saying that the common thread here with the brands that you'll try today is that they are brilliant products, first and foremost. But second to that, they also are owned by Black founders. And some of the work that we do is really around visibility and amplifying the voices of sometimes underrepresented communities. And so that's enough about me. And I'm now going to hand over to the first founder, which is Grace Ubawachi, who is the founder of Zin and Voltaire even. Thank you, Grace.
Hi, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Hopefully I'll catch up with all of you after. So I am the founder of Zin and Voltaire, and I started the business back in 2017. And ultimately, for me, it was just because of my love for the industry, my love for alcohol as a consumer. And I found myself in the bar, and I loved to watch a mixologist mix a cocktail. One thing I found in my journey of that and exploring and kind of building my own drinks repertoire was that when I would consume a cocktail, I would always say, back in, I'd say like 9 years ago now, the best time to have it would be on the first sip. And if there were too much ice, that creation that was intended would kind of diminish because the ice itself, especially when it was crushed ice, it would actually water down. So what I wanted to do was to add my own flair as a consumer and to be able to incorporate everything you find in a cup and actually add my own flair to that and be able to elevate and innovate and provide a completely new way to consume alcohol. And so using the ice as a medium, I was able to freeze that and be able to create 4 different flavors. It took me about 2 years with the incredible Nina Metier, who's based out in Paris, to be able to actually freeze the alcohol and then from there create what the flavors you have today. So we have over 90 creations, but these are the 4 that we have chosen for our current launch lineup. We launched earlier this year, and it's been a pretty exciting run. And so hopefully I will take you through the very first flavor right now. So on your tables, you will have the first one being Florian. And that one is a white peach sorbet made out of champagne and vodka with elderflower liqueur. So what was great about this flavor, just to give you some background, was that it actually was the reject. And when I tried it, I would fly between England and Paris. And when I tried it, Nina didn't even want to show it to me. She was like, oh, it's just, I don't like it. It's not balanced. But when I tried it, I felt like it just had a uniqueness about it, something that I hadn't actually tried before. And I felt like it was able to really carry the story that I hadn't actually tried in my own journey of trying cocktails. And so this particular one is 7.6 ABV. And so all of our ranges, our products in the range from about 7.6 to 9.6 ABV. So basically a unit of a measure that you would find. And our measures are actually 125 as a serving. So this particular one, I think, is smooth, it's creamy. It's not what you would expect from a sorbet or anything you'd think has alcohol in it that you would eat. But we wanted to be authentic to the spirits that we're using and also be able to give you that alcohol experience, but eating it. Okay, yes, I think they're putting the final one on the table, and that is Giselle. So all of the names are actually French, drawing inspiration from our first tastemaker, Nina. And all of the spirits that we've got, a large majority of them outside of the Mezcal, which you'll find in Giselle, is sourced out of France. And so using that, we named the products to pay homage with French names. So Giselle is the next flavor, but I'm seeing some of you are still enjoying Florian, so I'll wait till you finish. I'll give you a bit of background on Giselle. Giselle is a little spicy. So Giselle has the Mezcal, and it also has the raspberry. It has champagne. And what's great about Giselle is that it's simple, but it's complex. And that Mezcal, the smokiness of it is probably one of the first things that you'll get when you taste it. And then you'll get the sharpness of the raspberry. And I really love Giselle just because it's unique. And Mezcal is one of those spirits that has its own personality. Anything you add to it just shines right through. So Giselle is actually 7.9% ABV. It's the second in terms of the range and in terms of increasing in ABV. So you still get the smokiness, you get all of the flavors, but you get the alcohol here at the end too. Anything else?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so those are the two that we have. If you have any questions for me, please feel free to come through. Yeah. So we have two other flavors. Oh, you have a hand? Did you want to ask a question? Yeah, I think it's gone.
Sorry, which mezcal are you using?
We don't actually name the mezcals that we use,
Right.
but we source directly from the distillery, which is, yeah. When we do work with any names, it will be on the label. It's something that we would publicize. Do we have any other questions? Yeah? The great thing about this product is that one thing in terms of feedback that we've gotten is that when you get an idea of a sorbet, they just think it's a dessert, but the moment you taste it, you just get the smack of the alcohol, and it has its own experience. And so there's nothing that I would say that can compare to what we've done. And so the key in terms of creating the product was really about the texture and preserving the integrity of a sorbet, but also giving that alcohol the room to shine for you to be able to taste all the notes. But also the great thing about our product as well is that 50% of it is the fruit puree that we use, and we're all fruit puree based. And then the next thing you'll get is the alcohol. So just being quite transparent with that. And creating products that we believe are clean without using anything that would be exclusive. And all our products are vegan, so it is something that is available to anyone who is interested. Any other questions? No? Okay, well, it was nice to meet you all, and I hope to see you all after. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Grace. Thank you so much. And so now I'd like to hand over to our next founder. He is the co-founder of Spearhead Spirits. His name is Damola Temian. Damola, as he's running through.
Thank you very much, Lorraine. Hello, everybody. I have no idea what time it is. Sometimes I have no idea what day of the week it is, but I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Damola Temian, founder of Spearhead Spirits. Probably wondering who are Spearhead Spirits. You've never heard of us before. We are the premium African spirits company. Now, I used to say, when you go into a bar or restaurant or off license and you ask someone, do you have any spirits from Africa? The answer would typically be no, and I've seen some heads being shaken now. Thankfully, I don't have to say that anymore because there are more African spirits in this room than there probably ever has been, myself and Amma also. So I can no longer say we're the only African spirits in the UK, but we're one of the very few. Now, what we'll be doing today is trying one of our products called Bayab Gin. Now, Bayab Gin is a gin that we distill and bottle in South Africa. However, the story of Bayab doesn't end there. Bayab is created using botanicals from across the African continent. So what you will be sampling today is a gin that has a taste of Africa in a bottle. The other thing I'm going to ask you, there's a lot of questions here, a bit of interaction. Have you ever seen The Lion King? Hands up. Lion King. All right. It's a little bit disturbing that some of you have not. What happened to your childhood? Seriously. If you have seen The Lion King, there's a scene where Rafiki sits on a tree, they call it the upside down tree, or the baobab tree. In that tree, there's a fruit. And if you come to the stand 135, I'll show you what that looks like. I've got some. He cracks open the fruit and does this across Simba's head. That fruit is a baobab fruit if you've never seen it before. Now, what that fruit actually has inside is a superfood. And that is absolutely true. I can't say our gins are healthy, but what we use to make it actually is. It's got the highest antioxidants of any fruit in the world. And we use that product, that fruit, to create the flavor, the sweet citrus flavor of our gins, amongst other things. We source other botanicals from Zambia, Ghana, Botswana, Madagascar, so literally the whole of the African continent is in this bottle. The other fun fact about Bayab is, whilst it's 43%, it tastes like you're drinking the nectar of the gods. It doesn't taste like a 43% spirit, I'll tell you that. So, I'm going to stop the talking for a little while and ask you to pick up drink number 3. Now, what you have in glass number 3 is our classic dry, one of our 3 SKUs. Have a little sip of that, and you'll see what I mean by that sweet citrus flavor. Don't drink it too fast, guys. Like I said, I don't know what time it is, but you've still got a few hours to go, all right? So what you're tasting in that is a bit of sweetness, a bit of citrus. The juniper doesn't overpower. The reason why we designed it this way is because myself and Chris, my co-founder, decided we wanted a session gin, a gin that we could drink all day. Please drink responsibly. You're not meant to drink this all day, but we wanted something you can drink over and over again. Which is why we got to this incredible classic dry. We then created orange and marula fruit. Now, if you Google drunk elephants on YouTube, you'll see elephants stumbling across the savannah. They get drunk because they pluck the marula fruit from the tree as it ferments and get a little bit toasty. That's why we put it in our gin. Just adds a little bit of punch to your pouch, right? And then we have another SKU called the African Rose, and we use rose petals from Kenya to flavor that particular gin. And we've got more than just gin. That's what we're exhibiting today. We've got a sugarcane vodka, which is fabulous. Come over to the desk and try some. And we're debuting African agave. Now, who likes tequila in the room? All right, yes, that's what I thought. This is probably the first and only African tequila you're ever going to try. And if you didn't know, Africa has the second largest population of agave plants in the world outside of Mexico. Most people are like, huh? You can get tequila in Africa? Yes, you can. And we're the first to put it in a bottle for you guys to drink. But anyway, let's get on to the second drink in front of you, number 4. Now this is liquid gold. There's a man in this audience, I can see him right there, CJ, who owns a liquor store. When I gave him this to try this time last year, the man ran away laughing. He not laughing out of humor, just how the hell can something taste that good? And look at that smile just there. Right, have a little taste. What you have in this is the Bayab Classic Dry, a bit of ginger beer, and a dash of mango syrup. Now this is the truth. This is our secret sauce, our specialty serve. This, we believe, is going to be a hit. So the next time you want to get a gin and tonic or a G&T, what you should actually ask for is a G&G, gin and ginger, with a dash of mango. Remember this, guys. You can take it and claim it as your own. Don't have to say that you heard it here first. But like I said, the next time you're going to have a G&T, throw away the tonic and put in some ginger. If you can find some mango, dash that in as well. And what you have here is what we call a G&G. Now, I would like to thank you for your attention. It's been incredible standing up here in front of you all. If you want to try more of our incredible products, if I do say so myself, please head over to booth 135, the Bee Hospitality booth. Thank you very much, Lorraine, for allowing us to share these spirits with you guys today. And if you have any questions, I'll be at the back ready for you. Oh, there is a question. Ah, fantastic. You know what? This is the bit I always miss. Can you pass her the microphone, please?
Do you sell your beautiful products in Africa yet?
So, we started this business in the pandemic, 2019. And in South Africa, there was a prohibition. So you couldn't even move bottles from the distillery into a store. But we do now sell these products in South Africa, France, Ghana, Nigeria, US, UK. Soon to be in a few other African countries. You can buy it in the UK, Amazon. You'll get it next day if you really want it that bad. Whiskey Exchange, Masters of Malt. If you go onto our website, you can also buy now and it'll get to your door whenever you want it. And if you are a buyer, you're in a pub, a restaurant, or a bar, you know where to find us. We're supply through speciality, so you can buy it through them, or you can buy it direct. So we'd love to speak to you if you're interested, and look forward to meeting you all later on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And last but not least, I am introducing Amma Menza, Queen Amma, who is the founder of Rain Rum. Yes, I think worthy of applause before she starts. Here you go, honey.
Thank you so much, Lorraine. Good afternoon, everyone. As Lorraine just mentioned, my name is Amma Menza. I am the founder and CEO of Rain Rum. Rain is the world's first multi-award-winning African luxury rum brand from Ghana. I am going to tell you a little bit about the serves that you have in front of you, and hopefully you'll enjoy trying them. But before I do that, I think it's really important that I show you a little bit about where these products actually come from. So I've got a short video that will hopefully play soon. Yay, it's working. So as you can see, Rain is born in the Ghanaian rainforest. So it's born on a 2,000-acre farm and distillery in what's called the Ahafo region of Ghana, which is about 450 kilometers from the capital city of Accra. We have around 200 members of staff who work, and many of them actually live at the compound. And because of where we are, it's a very rural area. A lot of these guys live there with their families. So as well as a business and a company and a beautiful luxury product that I hope you'll enjoy, we're also very much a community. And our objective is to create a community where everyone who works there and everyone who visits us feels royal. And that's what's behind the name. It's all embedded in African royalty. So I often describe Rain as a grass-to-glass business. We grow our sugarcane on our organic farm. So we're growing sugarcane and cashew nuts on site and transporting that fresh sugarcane from the farm, from the field, to the distillery. So we're crushing that sugarcane, and it's actually the juice that's used to make our rum. A lot of rums are made with molasses or, yes, a lady said it at the same time as me, or some other byproduct of making processed sugar. But for us, we're actually growing our sugarcane specifically to make an incredible product for you guys. Some of you may know a little bit about the distillery process, but for those who don't, the first step is fermenting, which was the silver tanks that you just saw. So the sugarcane juice goes into those fermentation tanks, and it's in there for about 3 to 4 days, and then it goes into the pot still So we're aging some of our rum, and we're aging it quite uniquely in cashew apple brandy barrels. So because we're growing cashew apples on site, and because we're really committed to sustainability, this has nothing to do with us. And because we're committed to sustainability, rather than discarding of those cashew apples, we actually use those to make brandy. That brandy goes into barrels, and when that's emptied, we then put in our rum. So when you do get to try it, you will notice some kind of brandy notes, and possibly something that you can't quite place, because cashew apples are not something that really exist in anywhere other than India and South America. There was someone I met earlier from India who knew what cashew apples were. And this gentleman here also knows what cashew apples are. Thank you very much. But it's not something that is commonly known around the world. And I think that's one of the things that's really special about this session. I won't talk too much about, we'll start with the baobab and hibiscus rum. And I won't talk too much about baobab because I think Damola did a really good job of that and told us about, Lion King and all of the rest of it. And again, can't confirm that our rums are healthy, but baobab is very healthy. So we'll start with the baobab and hibiscus rum. I would tell you which number it is, but it's quite distinctive. It's the purple one. So you can't mix it with anything else that's in front of you. I often call it purple rain. So our baobab and hibiscus rum, again, is quite unique in a number of ways. I don't believe there is another baobab and hibiscus rum that exists on the market. It's also distinctive, obviously, in its color. And what was really important for us in developing these products is that everything that we do is about showing the world just how incredible Africa is. Because sometimes, the images that we receive don't paint the full picture. Baobab is one of the most incredible fruits that exists on our planet. Hibiscus is one of my favorite ingredients because it's so commonly known and used around the world, but it's not often known or recognized as an African botanical. So for us, in everything that we create, kind of elevating the position of African products and raw materials is at our core. So our baobab and hibiscus rum is served straight for you today. It goes really well with a tonic. Probably my favorite serve is with champagne, but that might just be because of who I am. And we do actually have a bottle of Bollinger on our stand, which will be opening at the end of this. So you are very welcome to come over and try a cocktail, which we call the Reigning Queen, which is a serve of our baobab and hibiscus rum with champagne and also a little bit of syrup to bind both of those ingredients as well. I'll move on to our aged rum. So the second rum from us that you'll be trying is on number 5. And that is our single estate sugarcane juice rum. The one that I mentioned is aged in cashew apple brandy barrels. It's actually a limited edition, and it's also not yet available on the market. It's actually still been aging in Ghana up until literally a couple of weeks ago. So you are the first people to ever taste this specific product, and it won't be available to anyone else for a couple of months. As I mentioned, it's a limited edition, so there'll only be about 1,000 bottles available when it is released also. We do have 3 products. The third is our spiced rum, which again is available on our stand. It's a spiced rum. There are a lot of spiced rum lovers in the UK and around the world, and we wanted to celebrate that. But it's also a spiced rum, which is more of a dry spiced rum, and again leans into African spices and botanicals. So one of our lead spices is the calabash nutmeg. which again is uniquely indigenous to West Africa. We know about nutmeg, mostly from the Caribbean, but we have a calabash nutmeg in West Africa also. So please come and try our third SKU on our stand as well. And of course, some champagne. Those are the two that we're trying today. I don't know if we're open for questions, if there are any. There are any questions? There's one question just here.
Of the cap of your bottle, is that based around the seed that like is normally seen, right?
That's a really good question. Thank you. So it's great that you mentioned that because, of course, we're here to try the liquid. But the bottles themselves are also, if I do say so myself, a work of art. It was really important to me and to our team that we created a product that tastes good, which hopefully you have discovered, one that also looks good, and also one that does good for the communities that we are from. So the bottle design, just like the product, just like our ingredients, are heavily influenced and driven by Africa, African culture, and specifically African royalty. So that's where the name Rain comes from. We have a bespoke stopper, which you've noted, and that stopper is based on essentially a throne. So me personally, I come from Ghana, but I come from the Ashanti Kingdom, which you may or may not have heard of. In West Africa, it was one of the largest and most well-respected nations. Before Ghana existed, there was a war between the British and the Ashanti Kingdom that lasted 100 years, right? So these are some of the stories that are of, 100 years. Can you imagine? 100-year war. And so the golden stool is kind of one of the most central and beautiful symbols of Ghanaian royalty, African royalty. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, for us at Rain, and the reason we're called Rain is because we exist to create a community where everyone feels royal, but especially people who don't normally feel royal. So we're grass to glass. So from our farmers, how do we return value? I founded this business almost 4 years ago, and I did so by taking over a farm and distillery in the rural area of Ghana. And one of the first things I did was I increased salaries of my farmers by 50%, because I understand that in order for us to eat and drink well, it's important that we value and respect and take care of the people that make our food and drink for us. And unfortunately, around the world, that doesn't happen so much. And so starting with those guys, most of them are women, actually. 60% of African farmers are women. About 70% of our staff are women. I happen to be a female founder. Hopefully that was obvious without me having to say it as well. And again, there aren't many of us, particularly in rum. So for us, it's about creating a luxury product, makes people feel special, both our farmers, our distillers, but also you guys. We hope that when you enjoy Rain, that it's during a time of celebration of life, whatever that may be for you, and that it has a special place on your back bar or your home bar as well. So thank you so much for your question. It was a really long answer. I tried to get lots of things in there. But thank you so much for your time. And I think I'm handing back over to Lorraine at this point.
Yeah, you are, for sure.
Or not.
Well, I mean, we'd love to hear from you all, actually. You've tasted all very quietly. Please come with some questions. The other two founders are at the back of the room, so
do you
over
guys
to
want
you.
to come and join me and
Yeah?
Demola and Grace?
I've got a question for the audience, though. How many people in this room have tried an African spirit before? Okay. Fair. Questions? Okay, we have one at the back. Was
First of all, thanks very much, guys. I mean, everything we've tried today was absolutely fantastic. I'll be tracking down some more of that ice cream for sure. That was sensational. Are you finding that there's as much of an appetite for diversity at the moment as there is for sustainability, for example, when you're going in and talking to the trade?
As there is for
sustainability.
So, first of all, I think the two are interconnected.
For sure.
At Spare Spirits, we talk about community sustainability, making sure that where we produce our liquids, we are investing rather than extracting. So part of our sales force in South Africa, we employ ex-homeless people, put them through a program, and they are becoming our sales force in South Africa. For us, that's community sustainability. And when you're talking to trade, they're interested in sustainability, but it quickly transitions to a conversation about diversity within the supply chain. And what we're looking at within Spearhead Spirits is how we demonstrate diversity in the supply chain, starting from our distillery through to the bottle that you see on the shelves. I think there is absolutely more interest in sustainability than there is in diversity. There was a moment. Unfortunately, that moment seems to have died down. Only last week, four people of colour who were hired into diversity roles in FTSE 100 companies, Fortune 500 companies, got released. People that were brought in to ensure that there was diversity within organisations, within a few years of Black Lives Matter, they've been sacked.
Yeah.
So whilst there might be interest in diversity, I'm not sure whether it's actually following through into organisations in a meaningful and sustainable way.
Yeah.
So people are concerned about sustainability often because that's what consumers care about, so they'll talk about it. Whether they follow through or not is a different matter.
Yeah.
Diversity, I can't say that there is the same fervour or interest in that until we have the conversation and people are suddenly like, oh wow, I've never had a product by a black brand. Oh, how the hell does that happen? So I think until we bring it to people's attention, it's not really in their consciousness personally.
Yeah, and I just want to build on that point. I know you do too, Emma. I just want to add though, so my background is procurement and supply chain in the hospitality industry. And conversations about sustainability were being had well over 10 years ago. So there is an element of that slow build, which my hope is that the sector-wide will recognise the value add of diversity within the supply chain in the same way they've been forced to for sustainability. And it has been driven by consumers, which is why businesses have, stood up and taken note. My hope is the same happens for diversity. So just my thoughts.
So I want to start by saying, I think you mentioned it at the top of your speech. You said there are more African and black-owned brands in this building than there ever have been. And I don't think that's by accident. And what I would say is we're coming, and it's not going to stop. At the moment, there's 3 of our brands just here. It's a relatively, small stand. I've walked around. I've seen how big the Italian stand is, and I've got it right in my vision at this moment, right? The fact is, we're really far behind when it comes to diversity in the drink space specifically and around ownership, and we have to start somewhere. I think the fact that you've got 4 black people standing on the stage right now is kind of remarkable, unfortunately, but it is. But I think it's the beginning. I also want to say, you talked about sustainability, and you also mentioned that the two are inextricably linked. Like I said, 70% of my farmers are women. The average age of an African farmer is 60. So if we are not investing in diversity, I think 70% of the world's cocoa comes from West Africa. So if we're not understanding that there is an impact globally for everything that happens everywhere in the world, and that if we're not investing in diversity in people and lives and economic empowerment around the world, then the things that we love and enjoy will no longer exist. So they will not be sustained. There will not be diversity in product, and all of that comes from diversity in people. And I also think that it's also evident that for us, we've really thought about our backgrounds and our heritage in the products that we've created, right? So I talked a lot about the African botanicals, ingredients in what we've made. So not only is there an appetite for diversity of people, there's also an interest in diversity for product. And we know that that's one of the leading trends that exist in the drink space as well. And that's, I think, one of the things that we can uniquely bring at this time.
Just to briefly put as well, even from an investing standpoint, because that's one I can speak very kind of fondly about, you know, from my perspective, knowing how that function worked for me, the door wasn't necessarily an open door to seeking investment. And I actually didn't even find investment in the UK. It was something I found in Europe. But I was very intentional about who I worked with and bringing that in. So even though, from my perspective, understanding that I am a diverse founder, and it was an impact investment from my investment perspective, from my investors, I think that pushing that forward into who we bring in and into who we work with, into the kind of statement that we make, there is a long thread that goes in between diversity and sustainability, but creating opportunities for those who are coming after us as well into the space. Mine is very specific and very niche, but I found a way to work in my own personality and my own, to being authentic into who I am as a person, into the brand. And I think that, you know, it's easy for me to say that now, but a lot of the time, what you find is you're not really even able to say that in these spaces, and you're not really able to be authentic to yourself in those rooms when you're having the conversation. But what I will say is that the more people understand that there are other founders that maybe don't necessarily look like them, that are bringing in a fresh flair into what they bring and what they supply. And that actually opens the conversation to bring in more founders that look like us. And I know that there are some even further down as well, to be able to have these conversations, but to make it a norm, because the more of us you see, then the more products like this you'll see as well, and the more interest you'll find as well. So it is really from the consumer downwards. But as buyers and as people who own businesses, if you actually are intentional about it, you find that actually you'll see more of those types of communities coming to the forefront.
Thank you for your question, by the way. It's a good question. Yeah.
I think we had
I think we could probably all talk about that question for a very long time.
very long time. I think we had another question for the chap in the blazer, blue blazer on phone. Did you have a question? No? Oh, you didn't. Got a question over here, though.
Hey, I might have missed if you touched on this, but I'm curious, coming from the States, it's one thing to have a cool product, right, and everything, but it's another thing to have distribution. And so I was wondering, like, if you guys could touch on about how you were able to achieve, you know, a certain level of distribution in this market as we prepare to enter this market in 2014. It's kind of interesting, so I was just curious.
Thank you.
I think we work from... So our product is very unique, as you all know, and we're entering into a space that is all about liquids, and we've come with something frozen. It is, I would say, and I say it to the team a lot, it's a righteous thing that we're doing. We're literally laying the brick by brick. And so you really have to do the groundwork. I can say from my perspective, I am having the conversation with people face to face. I know others as well. There's someone I know, he had to go to Ibiza, but he was going week by week to be able to familiarize himself with the people there and for them to know him as well. And I think when you do that work and you lay that brick, you're able to kind of break through the door. London is one of the toughest markets to break into. Ask everyone here. And so I'm not saying it's an easy job, and I'm not even saying that I've done it. What I am saying is, from my perspective, you're going door to door. I don't think there is another way other than you know people. It is a relationships game that we're in. And so if you're starting where you don't know anybody, you're building that network yourself. You're finding people like Lorraine who are kind of titans in this space, and you're getting to know who they are, and they are making the connections for you, but really you're doing the work. And that's from the small scale. And then I can pass on to you guys as well. But we We're in the UK. We're also kind of in Spain, but I have someone in Ibiza right now. He's driving the van. He's getting to know people. He's doing the groundwork. So I wouldn't say it's a pretty job, even though we all look fabulous here. Behind the scenes, it is not simple, and we're probably all kind of juggling 50 billion things. So not to scare you, it's worth it, but yeah, it's a righteous task.
So for us, we actually launched in Ghana in January. So we're little tiny babies. We've only been on the UK market for a few months, and we're only available online. So we launched in Ghana. We thought it was important to launch at home. And we were able to make quite a splash there, which I think is helping and will continue to help in the UK as well. So we're listed in some of the best bars and restaurants in Ghana, ones that are internationally renowned on like 50 best bars and things like that. We launched at the biggest festival that Ghana's ever had in January, and done some stuff on YouTube that's achieved like 500,000 views so far, right? So I think for us, yes, breaking the UK market is incredibly important, and that's absolutely one of our highest priorities. But I think, again, if we're looking at, diversity and the global market and globalization, and the fact that actually with the internet, the world is quite small, and the fact that the impact that we're making in Ghana is having an impact here in terms of our market presence and visibility. I've had people come to the stand and say they recognized me from YouTube, right? And that's because of a video that was made in Ghana and put on YouTube. So I would say don't underestimate the power of the internet.
Thank you. Distribution is such a strange game. We started in 2019 with no distribution. It's 2023 now, and we have distribution. But that journey was horrific, terrible, painful, and the pain does not end, because once you get distribution, it still hurts. Funnily enough, we got distribution in the United States before we got proper distribution in the UK. So when we found distribution in the US, that started with a conversation that led to another conversation, that led to a conversation with a distributor called Winebow in America, who distribute in around 17 states in the country. It's like dating. That conversation took us 12 months before they actually bought a bottle. So I think one of the biggest lessons around distribution for us is that it takes time, perseverance, and pain. And that is particularly pertinent for the UK market, since that's what your question was about. Given that myself and Chris, as founders, live in the UK, but we're able to find distribution in the US, France, South Africa, and the rest before we found it in the UK, says a lot. The thing that underpins the struggle, might I say, is the nuances of every market. US 4-tier system, you've got to break down through every single tier. In the UK, there's none of that. It's a bit more Wild West. The thing that you have to unpick here is the relationships and trust. The only reason we have UK distribution now is because we have a good relationship with a commercial partner who was able to find us, essentially matchmake, with a distributor who believed in what we were doing. And so in many ways, finding a distributor is like finding your life partner. You search for a long time, you go on a lot of dates, you kiss a lot of frogs, and the price might not be right. And when you find them, hang on to them for dear life until, if you divorce, but it's all good. At least you had fun along the way. What I'll say about the UK is use this as an opportunity to meet people who have distribution, get those introductions, understand what they're looking for, and how you can match what you have with that. For us, we found a distributor who loved the idea of bringing Africa to the UK, and that's what sold it for them. One other bit of advice, I guess, is about volume. We're new to this. Like Chris and I, never been in the spirits industry, literally babies in this game, had no idea. You speak to distributors and they're like, we're not going to talk to you until you've sold this many bottles. All right, self-distribute until you get to that volume and then suddenly people start having conversations that are meaningful. So yeah, I guess the summary is it's painful. It's a relationships game, and it's a lot like dating. For those of you who have been on internet dating apps, you know how painful that might be. So yeah, enjoy the rides, and I'll introduce you to our distributor. See what they say.
Thank you. You want to add something, Emma?
I'm so glad that you ended with that, because it's not all doom and gloom. The simple fact that we're in this room is testament to what is possible, to opportunities, to Demola introducing you to his distributor, to Lorraine introducing us and bringing us into this space and being on this incredible stage, which is one of the biggest and best and most well-respected industry events in the world, right? And I think for all of us, what's really important is collaboration. We all sit on that stand together. We're kind of bumping into each other the whole time, but also kind of, encouraging each other and, edging each other on. And so I think that's also really important to mention. And I'm glad that he's offered you some help. And that's what it's about. Both of you talked about relationships. There are relationships in this room, and it's just about us building those and, making things happen.
Thank you. And with that, it's a perfect way to finish. We've come to the end. So people, head over to the stand behind you. Thanks for your attention, and all the best.